So for those of you who don't know me, this is Kat from Kat Tarot. So welcome to March, right? So as many of you basically have been following my readings, and I did monthly readings, then you know that I was predicting this March, and there are like these new transitions coming up. So the day has come. This is really literally happening today. So it's very important for you to hear this and take this away, and maybe even come back. And let's start. Like what I want to cover here today, that we have Saturn moving into Aquarius. Europeans have it today. We in North America have it tomorrow. So this is what we'll be talking about, and I'll be talking about the new moon in Aries on the 24th, and what is that new moon going to do for us. But let's first address these intense energies that we are really feeling. So Mars is still in Capricorn, and it's joining the Capricorn party, as you can see here. This is applicable to all of us. We have lots of outer planets, and when they move, just think about a big boss coming in the office, and the word is law. So a few days ago, Mars has come within a degree of Jupiter, right? So let's think about Mars. Any Aries over here is going to tell you that Mars is the planet of aggression. It is the planet of speed and acceleration. It's kind of like full throttle, right? So it is usually speeding things up, and it's accelerating and quickening things. This is kind of why things are currently speeding up. You can see that even with the number of coronavirus out there, right? So the purpose basically here is, and it's going to continue speeding up. Before I get to that, it's going to continue speeding up for the remainder of the March, because the Mars, as you can see, conjuncts Jupiter at this stage. What means conjunct? It means that conjuncts. It means they're really close. So it's almost like a mirror effect, right? So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's huge, right? Jupiter is a big planet, so it's like a magnifying glass. It makes things larger. So Jupiter is associated with abundance and indulgence. So now we have this combination, Mars and Jupiter together. They're partying, so that accelerates this expansion in the energy field, so things will get bigger, they will get more intense, and they get more dramatic. So for those of you who are skeptical of all of that, don't be. Also, Mars just crossed Jupiter and came to conjunct Pluto. That's happening right now. It started basically yesterday on the 20th, and it will come it's going to be in this position until the 22nd, when it's going to be at 24 degrees. So Pluto is a planet of destruction. This is coming into Aquarius, which is going to be something very important to cover later, right? So as I said, Mars just crossed Jupiter, and it's conjuncting Pluto. So remember how I said there is like also the Mars joining this big magnifying planet, but now we also have Pluto, that is the planet of destruction and karma and death and rebirth, transformation and power. We see death, we hear about death all the time, every day. So this is happening like this threesome. Mars is conjuncting Pluto when it's next to Jupiter, and that's kind of like sinister signature, if you wish, right? These are celestial organized crime gang members, three big bosses getting together, and they're saying, let's talk about it, what comes to me, kind of a thing, right? So put it together. This is also in Capricorn, which is the planet of government and social institutions and social structures, police, military, and our careers. I have heard today on the radio that somebody in Vancouver, a lady has been arrested because she was ordered to be quarantined, and she went to basically go out and get a walk, and she was arrested. So I mean, talking about crazy. So now they're going to get her to jail, process all these people, will get in contact with her prisoners. So who is really crazy? On the 22nd, so like later on today in the Europe, and here a little bit early wee hours tomorrow, Saturn moves into Aquarius. So I'll get that into a second, but I really want to show you that Mars is continuing this course, right? When it goes into conjunction, when it moves into Aquarius. So we can see that throughout this month because these planets are all together. So the energies are going to be really intense for the remainder of the month. And at the very least until the mid of April, when Mars and Saturn will start to move away from one another, like, right? Well, kind of like a sigh of relief. But Pluto and Jupiter still be very close. So even though the intensity will go down a notch, we will still continue with this until the end of April, and then Pluto goes retrograde. So then mid-May, we are going to have Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus all turn retrograde. And remember, retrograde is a time of retraction. It's a time of going inward. So it's kind of also a time of slowing down when we gather more information, strategizing, and reflecting. So it's going to be time where things are going to get possibly under control. We are going to be able to get a breather. It's kind of like a wave. It goes up and down. And right now, they're all full force forward until mid-May, and then mid-May is going to start to recede. So mid-May is when we think we are going to be fine, but in September they will going to go direct again. So middle of this year is going to be less intense, but we are really not out of the woods, because when these guys move forward, we are going to see re-emerging themes, and that can be payment of our mortgages, payment of our rents, payment of the bills. Everything is being relieved, everybody's getting some money. Mid-March, like, we are kind of like figuring out how we are going to get through it, and then everybody comes back with the big bills, and there is like this uproar happening later, right? So guys, what I really want to tell you, that when the time comes to slow down, it is time to slow down. Remember how we were telling us, and you heard it, the age of New Aquarius, a new age, and Eckhart Tolle wrote this book, A New Earth. Well, it is starting today. Like, it was not an elusive concept, it's starting somewhere in the future. Here you are. This is the dawning of the age. It is. We are like, it's 2020. It's the dawning of a new era. It is the breakdown. We are dismantling the old system. So we are like cracking the Capricorn, and we are saying these old structures are not working anymore. The old government is not working. We do not want the same old politicians and the same old leaders, right? And then you get Aquarius that always messes things up, but it always pushes things forward, except it leaves tornadoes mess in the process. So think about it as a birthing process, right? Birth is messy and it's painful. It's also scary and confusing at times. But, you know, we are going through that. We are like in that birth canal right now. So that's how 2020 is going to look like, right? For those of you who got the annual forecast with me, you kind of like know I was suggesting to you where you need to buckle up, where you don't need to buckle up. So if you still didn't get it, and if you're my past client, because this is only open to my past clients, contact me and we can talk about it. So this is really where astrology shows its brilliance, right? Tarot is a tool which I love, and I love it a little bit more than astrology. And as I told you, I'm not the astrologer. I'm just kind of like having my own interpretation through my own feeling of the planets, but I also do have some education, so you just cannot have the tarot and be completely intuitive. You also need to know what basically the archetype of the card is, right? So this is a grand story that is taking place. The universe is currently taking messages. So on which kind of ride do you really want to go, guys, right? And I'm only on the page 2 of 4, so we have lots of things to cover, and I really hope you're taking notes, because it is really, really important, right? So we also have on the 24th the new moon in Aries. So this is a time for new beginnings, and let me see, am I allowing this properly? Yeah. And it's also about our personal identity. This is the house number 1. So it is like, hey, I'm here, I showed up. Like, think about this like divine masculine in the full power, right? So but this is combining with Saturn moving into Aquarius just a few days before. So that's what's going to happen, as I said, 21st, 22nd. So let's talk about positives first. I mean, any Aquarians here, like, guys, we can vouch for all of that stuff. So I have to tell you, being 11th sign, it is 1-1. So one of these ones is pulling in a very positive direction, another one in another negative direction. So when you guys get a wrath of Aquarius, you hate us, and I do get it, because you step on our tail because you're on the same axis as a Leo. Oh boy, do we roar. Like, we even scare Leo into their whatever, pride, cave, whatever they are. So, but let's talk about the positives, why you guys may like us. So Saturn moving into Aquarius is a really big deal. Like, if you're my coaching client, you already know that. We have been through that, because it is the closing, or partial closing rather to say, of Saturn in Capricorn, right? So yes, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn later on in a few months, right? But this is the first taste that we are going to get it, right? So remember, you are like in a very expensive wine bar, you're getting really expensive wine, and you're going to feel like, oh, I like it, but it's going to be taken away from you, and you'll be left lingering with that taste. So Aquarius rules community, it rules coming together, it rules global family, galactic family, even off-planet influences, astronomy, astrology, tarot, technology, and especially deep space technology, innovation, discovery. It also rules all things humanitarian, human rights, animal rights, charity, protest, kid rights, unborn rights, right? So Aquarius is the archetype of collective revolution and collective rebellion. For those of you who remember the history lessons, like 1789, remember the Industrial Revolution was, F you all, we need to change the system. Like, we are like here laboring, and now this is happening. Well, this was the step 1. Today is the step 2, right? So having Saturn move into Aquarius brings this new Earth technology. We actually had them in, Saturn was in Capricorn, which is Earth, and now it's going in air. Where do you think you move faster? Right? In which element do you think you move faster? So it's also new vision. We have like this bird eye vision. Things are going to be different. So put this in perspective. This is going to be a really good thing. Like, the entire global community is coming together to find solutions. So, but it also, some sinister things can actually go, well, one world government kind of a thing. But on the positive side, we can expect that people will start to feel really inspired. We will start to come together. We are going to come with solutions for global issues. And this is really what we need right now. Coronavirus is just the beginning. Global warning. You see, Freudian slip. That's exactly what should be called. And I'm going to write it down. Global warning. Because this is about global warming and things that are going to come later. And this is just through the lenses of a virus, but it's closing the borders, guys. I already said, if you remember, and I checked it, it was back in September, when I was telling you about a dream that I had about the deserts and everything turning and closing the borders. By closing the borders, this is the taste of it. That's what's going to happen within 5 years. So now, when basically Saturn was in Capricorn, it was like dense and fixed in that kind of like earth, right? But now with this air, it's kind of like going into this mental expansion, and it's kind of like third eye awakening. So you actually see what is ahead of you. You do understand this, right? So that's actually really exciting news, because having Saturn move into Aquarius, it's really positive. We also need to cover the dark side. As I said, this is sign number 11. So 11s are leaders, but sometimes it goes in a positive direction, that 1-1, and sometimes in a negative. And sometimes these two unite, and they actually create something really, really good, right? So, well, Aquarius rules technology, and Saturn rules government and systems and authority. Well, what can go wrong there, right? Also, when Saturn moves into Aquarius, it's going to be in a light square to Uranus and Taurus. And let me see if I have at least that thing to show you. Let me just go through my desktop thingy here. I don't think I pick up the square, but you never know, maybe I did. It would be much easier to show you, but I don't also want to distract you from everything that I am talking about. Did I? No, I didn't. So anyhow, let's continue. I'm going to download this audio and I will see if I'll be able to then locate it and place it appropriately. So let's discuss these two planets, right? So with this light square. So light square to Uranus. Uranus is the planet of revolution and change and rebellion and awakening. That's the tornado, right? It also rules Aquarius. So one planet that rules Aquarius is that stability. So it's saying, yeah, you can have this tornado, but you have to clean it up later, kind of a thing. So that's what Aquarians are doing. We are like troublemakers, but we also clean stuff up, or we are rather forced, or if we are not forced, then we have karmic messages and karmic lessons. So it's kind of thing. So Saturn is really government, tradition, rules and regulations. So when two of them square, and square means 90 degrees angle, and that's sort of a tension point or challenges between two planets, that's actually representing conflict of interest, right? So think about it, you're playing chess. It's a kind of chessboard, and, or better maybe example, two dogs are playing tug of war. Everybody wants to pull their way. And they're not saying let's do it together, because you can't. If you clean first and then you have a tornado, it makes no sense, right? So it's a push and pull between that very conventional Saturn and very revolutionary Uranus. So we really need to clean the old way, even though they're pushing this, like Capricorn is saying, no, it's going to be this way. I have been ruling and I like it. It's a stable, it's a structure, it's on earth, it's very dense. And Uranus saying, hold my beer, right? So Saturn is that old way and Uranus is that new way. So Saturn is really being authority, and Aquarius rules technology, right? So those in authority, so this is a dark side, may use technology to block or restrict revolution, change, and rebellion. We kind of like did see certain signs of that happening already, and we really need to pay attention to that right now, right? So let me just go back to the other screen to see you all these lovelies. So March 22nd and all the way into April, when Saturn moves into Aquarius, this kind of like issues will emerge that will involve authority. And now that authority will use technology. So I was just reading this article on Google, a notification, like, it was saying on YouTube, it was saying, well, we sent a bunch of people home because of coronavirus, so everything have on auto programming right now. So if you get notifications, or if your channel goes quote unquote accidentally down, maybe it shouldn't have been taken down, but that's what we are dealing here with, right? So this is that square that I'm talking about, right? So we need to be really hyper vigilant about our rights, and also how we share information, particularly when it comes to questioning the motives of those in power. But those who actually abuse those issues and they try to kind of like manipulate technology, oh boy, they have it coming to them, because this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So also the bad side, the virus. Aquarius rules science and medical innovation. So you are probably very happy to hear that, because this is the freaking fastest of all signs. So when we want to do something, as you see it in 6 minutes, I actually prepare myself. I want to talk about it, because this is important. Maybe it's not perfect. I know it is not presentation ready, but it is information ready, and that's all that really matters, right? So luckily Aquarius also rules people coming together, right? So it is really interesting that with this global crisis, we are also facing this social distancing, right? This is happening pretty much in every country. People aren't allowed to gather in large crowds, which is basically what Aquarius likes, large crowds getting together. But I really find this it's very interesting. So this is that dark side where, this is being controlled. This is trying to be kind of weird off its course. So Saturn and Uranus will come into their direct square at the beginning of 2021. So this is kind of like the ways the cycles work, and we will see the themes emerge at the end of this month when they come into that light square, and that Saturn is going to go into retrograde and is going to ease off. But then when Saturn moves forward in the fall, right, it's end of September, then it's going to square with Uranus, which is going to be beginning of 2021. That's when we are going to see the tug of war takes place, right? So again, we need to stay really vigilant, and we need to take an active role in getting access to this type of information. Be very careful about any privacy, about your passwords, and so on and so forth. Be really careful of what official information you give, because it might be abused, right? So now, let's look into the new moon in Aries. It's on the 24th. It's 4 degrees to the sun and the moon. And I think I did have that one. At least I can pull that one. I remember seeing that one. But this whole freaking thing is creating a big mess over here on my desktop. Can I have the larger icons? And maybe I can see them without opening. Yeah, they really didn't happen much larger. But is it this? Transit 4. No, this was just like what I was covering. But maybe I can put this, because this is going to be really important. So let me replace this, what we have right now, with transit 5. Okay. Here we go. So that's kind of like summary what I typed, so at least if it kind of like can take something away from this, then we kind of like take this, and that's going to be very important. I hope, guys, you're following so far and that you're understanding, because this part for the new moon is also very important. Usually new moon brings like all these lovely feelings, and it's a new start, it's a new beginning. This new moon is in Aries, and Aries is usually head on. It's kind of like that aggression and I want kind of a thing, and don't take it away from me. But we see that Chiron is in Aries, right? And as well, so this is actually talking about a wounded moon. That's the unfortunate part. Chiron in Aries represented that wounded warrior and the wounded masculine. So if you remember this 9 of Wands card, this is where you see that in tarot. The dude is staying with his wands, his sticks, and his head is like he's determined to continue. Yes, he is, but he's wounded, right? So he's been taken back. And I'm talking about the gender here. We all have this aggressive part of ourselves, right? So I'm talking about masculine energies and the wounded warrior. Wounded warrior is barbaric, it's aggressive, it's also vicious looking. It's like almost like you know how on a dog you see the teeth of oh, by the way, Tiger is in a daycare, so that's why you're not seeing slurping and drinking water and all this other stuff, right? So that wounded warrior is looking for a fight and conflict. It's very primal energy. It's kind of bloodthirsty. It's a survival mode. Think about tribes. So it can create conflict where it doesn't need to be conflict. It's almost like an increase in testosterone. So think about a guy who goes in a bar and he's looking for a fight. Equally, the rest of us are going to feel like that. We are going to be insisting on our causes, insisting on our values, and then we'll maybe want to defend ourselves unnecessarily, right? We actually already see that happening. People are fighting over toilet paper. They're like clearing the shelves in frenzy, and grocery store, like they're empty. They're leaving nothing for others, and they have no guilt about it. It's me, give it to me, right? It's like every man and every woman for themselves type of energy that usually kicks in when people feel that their survival is threatened, their lives are threatened, right? It puts us in this like flight or fight scenario. We also have people fighting on the internet about who is right and who really knows what actually is going on. People are really getting vicious out there. So we will see that energy coming in with this new moon. So remember that Chiron and Aries is the wound of the collective ego, especially as we see economic situations shifting and fluctuating, and people having to come home from their jobs or losing their jobs or seeing their finances fluctuated. So if people's identity is too heavily attached to these things, and you have like this man being fired from work and never telling his wife for 20 years that he has been fired, right? He's just saying he has been cut and he's making less money because he's getting unemployment, sort of a things, right? So this is going to herald collective ego death. That is basically what Aquarian basically transition is saying all about. We just can't continue. We cannot build something new. Yes, we can take certain things from the old. We can, at the very least, take the lessons we have learned, right? So that's pretty heavy, right? So you can see how important I felt this was. And I said, oh my gosh, this is not just a little blurb. I actually need to get myself organized on that. So it's kind of heavy, but they're like also positive. So let's go there. Because the wounded warrior is realizing that he or she is not going to survive unless they come into the balanced warrior, right? And the balanced warrior defends the weak. The balanced warrior defends the innocent. It fights for justice. The balanced warrior doesn't necessarily seek drama, but will fight for what is right. So that warrior is brave, and it can think rationally, it can strategize under stress, and it can focus on what needs to be done despite the external turmoil. So you will see some people will be trying, if they are asked a polarizing question, they will kind of like sidetrack this question and say, no, let's forget this bickering, let's move forward. The other ones will attack. Those ones that attack, they need to shed their ego. So either they will shed their ego. And if you remember back in September, I was telling you we are in this new process, and those of you who stayed with me are there with me, and we will have the next stage, and the stage is now. So if people shed their ego, they will join us. If they don't shed their ego, they will stay in that wounded warrior state, which is kind of like now overlapping with so many things. So it's almost like the eye of the storm, as the warrior can make others feel safe in a time of crisis. So this Chiron influence of this moon is asking us to heal the fractures in the identity, and those fractures are emerging as a result of everything that is happening. You need to remember that Mars is the ruler of this chart for this new moon, because Mars rules Aries, and Mars is over there sandwiched between Saturn and Pluto, right? So during this kind of like really intense sandwich time, people are going to have their fears exposed and their wounds exposed, right? So this new moon is calling for healing. And what is kind of like better to heal than when you have Aquarius that really rules through it? So we actually do have hope. Aquarius and Virgo give you hope. Imagine if Pluto messes up and say, ha 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 ha, I didn't like you, you were so mean to me, off you go. No, like we are right now kind of like walking with something that might be looking as a massive mess, but is going to start to make sense. So we need to all become those warriors during this time, so we can fight for justice when it's cold, not only for yourself but for the others. This is the rule when you're under Aquarius. No selfishness here, because you're going to be left behind. So we also need to make sure that we don't cause unnecessary drama, we don't get too defensive, too anxious, too vicious, right? So but there are also positive aspects to this moon, because the yin and yang, positive always comes with negative, and vice versa, right? So we have Mercury and Uranus kind of like shine through, and the sextile or sex is always a good thing, right? So sextile, the north and south node in Pisces, which is connected to basically that imagination and spirit, and it's connecting us to the higher plane, to God, to universe, right? And we can see about the chaos. Just think about that airplane flying over the clouds. The clouds are raining down, the thundering and storm, but for you, sun is shining, right? So we also have Uranus, which is the planet of revolution and change. This is propelling us toward that north node. And basically, you know, this is like more getting in touch with what our emotional kind of like target is, what we emotionally feel, who we are. This is really a huge awakening for a lot of people, what is really actually important. And right now, this whole crisis with this sickness make people really come home to what they really actually care, right? And you know, we cannot allow anybody to become too alienated, right? Where we lost our sense of what is truly important to us. Do we really want this elderly neighbor just fend for themselves, or at the risk of us getting the sickness? Or will we be brave warrior, or will we be wounded and angry warrior? You need to ask yourself, write yourself the big basically paper, put it on the fridge. Am I a brave or wounded warrior? That's going to remind you to this. So this is all having global effect. We are starting to connect more. Fingers are sometimes pointing in different direction. Let's blame China, let's blame Europe, let's blame Italy or Iran. This is also the people who are from the past, who are going to stay in the past if they don't transition, right? We need to step into our warrior role, into our individual roles, and we need to be a part of this new reality that is being created as the old one gets torn down. And if you want to know what your role is, you need to look in your North Node. You need to find out your North Node, what you need to involve, and what is your mission on this earth, right? So you need to figure out what this North Node and South Node is for you. If you look down in the description of this video, I did provide you how to get your natal chart. It's going to tell you most likely only North Node. South Node is the opposite of it. So North Node will tell you where you need to go and to evolve, and what is your mission, what is your destiny, right? And South Node is going to tell you what you're moving away from and what you need to let go of. So if you're a big picture person and it's telling you, okay, like, why don't you focus on the details right now, because this is great to be a big picture person, but now you have to pay the bills. That's kind of like information you will get. So for those of you who had readings with me, especially the bigger readings, you know that I include this astrology, especially those who had this entire year forecast, which again, I'm sorry, but I only, with few exceptions, I allow it to my clients, and that's the reason I'm extremely exhausted. And this can be now changed in volume because I decided to add a little piece that was not part of my Saturday live reading. But I also want to cover Neptune in Pisces. And nobody should undermine this transit, right? This is really what creates this fear and panic. So people might talk about platitudes or sugarcoat or just cough it away. It's all going to be done by Easter. I have to say that Neptune in Pisces is all about fear. It's about hysteria and delusion. Pisces, think about movies, except it's a horror movie right now. So also Neptune is almost at 90 degrees in Pisces, almost halfway, meaning it's increasing in intensity, right? It has to go all the way to 180. It's going to get to Aries in 2025, so 5 years. Can you wait? And only then it will stop. So we are going to see sharp uptick in suicide in the next 5 years. Mental health issues, that's all Neptune in Pisces. These are water placements, right? It's the strongest in water. It would really not surprise me also that main infection comes from droplets over here, right? So social distancing is going to worsen mental health issue, and it's going to become mental distancing, and social distancing is going to get into physical distancing, right? So job losses also can do extreme damage to mental health. So keep this in mind, that mental health component of the chart is activating. So I'm talking about the next 5 years. So meditation, Zen, energy, cleaning your place is going to be extremely important, not monthly, daily. Neptune is also about to make square aspects to North American chart, right? USA and Canada are very close. In the USA, they have the 1st of July, we have the 4th of July. We are like within days, right? It's going to come in 1 or 2 degree orb squaring Aries. So we're talking about Mars people, war people. So transit like this starts exerting its effects. It's going to start about in the month and a half, beginning of May, it's going to last until 2021. And Neptune will retrograde at the end of June. I probably should put up the retrograde planets so you can see what's really going on this year. Well, now you can see this, right? You can see the list, and once when you kind of like get this, you are probably understanding this impact, right? So it's very, very bad, my friends. It's just based on that fact alone, right? But it's also, as I said, Neptune will retrograde at the end of June, and that moment is going to square Mars here in North America. And Jupiter is also going to pose a very bad problem when it goes retrograde. So there's going to be retrograding on US Moon Pluto conjunction. Yay! How depressed you really want to be. So guys, time is now to start eating well, exercising, get a book. Don't just buy this nonsense watching television. This is not just being unemployed. This is just being unemployed and not having anything to do. This is not a good recipe, right? Then we're going to have the solar eclipse at the end of June at 0 degrees of Cancer. It's going to represent the Cancer nations, ta-da, US and Canada. It's going to fall in the 8th house of death and transformation, and it's going to completely eclipse that segment, which is going to be sort of a Grim Reaper. You know, the death card that kind of like is represented. So Aries ignites change that basically just took place a few days ago. So these people on live kind of like discuss it even more, because Scorpio is raising in their chart, and Scorpio, hello, that's the ruler of viruses. So we have virus rising literally. So it's suggesting internal crisis, and I haven't seen ingress chart like this in quite a while. Also, at the same time, I'm trying to see Chinese chart, and that kind of looks sinister. You also, and I'm doing something that probably astrologers don't do, and that's because I'm not an astrologer. I am just an amateur who is just understanding the planets, their vibration, and hence I am trying to pick up to see kind of like in their vibration what is going on when I look left, when I look right. It's one of those distance kind of like observing thing. So I'm looking into the leaders of the countries, right? Trump and Trudeau in the US and in Canada. Trudeau is Capricorn, Trump is Gemini, because their charts are operating almost like the secondary birth charts for those countries, and the events are synonymous, analogous, right? So let me give you short term for March. Saturn has officially entered Aquarius March 21st. It's social collective, it's society. Saturn is a representative, however, of a lockdown, oppression, hardship, and severity. It really likes to be in Capricorn, even though it also rules Aquarius, and it has to rule Aquarius, otherwise when things get in Aquarius, we would just like fly off the tangent and just lose being a part of solar, system. So it's what's going to be happening. This is a perfect timing for societal lockdown. It's already happening, as you can see. It's almost going to be like domino effect. It's just going to be start popping everywhere. It's going to be the rise of states and countries instituting those massive lockdowns. And so that's Saturn Aquarius, my dear friends. Do you believe in coincidences? Neither do I. So then we are heading, so now this is what you have. This is like March, this is April, but May 11th, Saturn will go retrograde. So what is basically happening when planets go forward? Then, like they kind of like go into this retrograde, but in order to kind of like just give you a taste when they go forward. So they're going to give you a taste what is to come when it's permanently in that sign. So that's what's happening in retrograding, right? So the events from now until May 11th is basically a flavor that we're going to have for 2.5 years. Aquarius, Saturn Aquarius. It will be a very hard time for the society. It's also going to affect the internet and the technology. So we might see some stuff like 5G that is kind of like very questionable. It could be like the Big Brother. I mean, my cameras, yeah, I'm a little bit paranoid, but they all have like a little tape on it, right? Camera stuff, and I know that I'm dealing a lot with cameras, but they are turned off when I'm not recording. So there's going to be lots of new technologies, like, I mean, mushrooming out, right? But some new technologies with this lockdown and with quote-unquote helping people can equalize bad things. Just think about the dynamite. You know, dynamite was supposed to be engineering tool, and look how it was used. I mean, every single plus has a minus, right? So I think that what we are experiencing with coronavirus might stop a big tech a little bit, because another problem that we have here, and this is kind of like weird to hear from your fellow Aquarian, that big tech started to rule us. And that's what Saturn in retrograde, Saturn in Aquarius regulates, right? So this is something that we need to keep in mind. So Saturn in Aquarius is all about technological slowing. So we can see internet disruptions, we can see anything else that's kind of come in there. But like also this month we have Mars conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. It's going to be that was yesterday, March 23rd. And so the transit is really going to fuel the virus. And I don't know if you noticed, this is like the first wave of the phase 2 in the countries that are affected, that are really taking it seriously, even though I think we didn't take it seriously in the first place. So think through it. Mars is energy fuel, it's war, and Pluto is virus. So Mars conjuncts Pluto. So conjunct means you're very close, they're lovers. So this is not that it's going to be war on virus. When you're like with somebody, when you're holding hands, you don't want to punch them in the face. So Mars conjunct Pluto is fueling the virus with lots of energy. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning it's cushy, right? So that's also some kind of astrological charging. It's kind of like getting like, I mean, amazing fuel in order to do that. So Capricorn, Mars in Capricorn is actually really talking about very hard work. I believe, contrary to what they're trying to advise us, everything will be fine when the nice weather comes through, that this is going to provide the coronavirus with unbelievable stamina. And it's going to resist to many treatments that are actually, like, I mean, trying to do. It's going to be very stubborn, right? And the ineffective rate is going to skyrocket, right? So I really think that that's why many governments are going to take some drastic actions. I think that they're going to include military at some point. It doesn't have to happen right now, but I think it's definitely in the cards. So today it is new moon in Aries. New moons, as I told you, they're all about new beginnings. So that can be seen as new aggressive measures being taken to kind of combat that virus during that period of this new moon. But because I told you with connection with Chiron, like this is like wounded healer, right? So it can basically mean that we will really kind of like, it's going to be raw, it's going to be fight or flight, right? It's going to be like each to its own kind of a thing, right? So when all of this kind of like lines up with Mars conjunct Pluto, which takes effect the day before the new moon, so it was like yesterday, right? So if you're listening to this on the 24th, it was like on the 23rd. And then also we have Mars conjunct Saturn in Aquarius at the very beginning of Aquarius. So I think this is all going to happen at the very end of the month. I'm just looking at my chart here on the screen. March 21st, again, Aquarius is all about society. And, you know, and then Saturn is locking it down. And it's kind of like that kind of oppression that really comes to play. And this is kind of like joining in lovely Mars that is kind of like angry. So when I put it all together, that's kind of like anger increasing, and people will be angry about being locking down, and that anger has a lot of persistence associated with this social distances. As I said, this is going to become physical distancing. It's going to be, people will be screaming at each other, don't stand right next to me. Whew, that's going to go for long, you know, people. And hopefully that Mars, that conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, is going to result in humanitarian efforts. So that's the hope. Aquarians are hope. They are not hope that comes in a gentle Pisces way. Come and I'm going to hold you, I'm going to hug you. No, that is hope of breaking out of the burning freaking building and getting out. You need this freaking force, like, I mean, cruel, rude force, brute force to get out, right? So we need this aggression to combat the virus. And I'm also pretty concerned about attacks on the internet. There are going to be some bugs everywhere, right? And possibly even hacking into the government databases, really, most likely within the US. And that might also affect elections. So what else do I see over here? I think if you guys are running a company, if there is a database, you make sure that you kind of like secure it. It's going to specifically affect Aquarian world stuff like technologies, databases, right? That kind of attack. And it's actually coming in the next few weeks. That's a really, really big risk, right? That's my report. You have heard it here. I know that I tried to make it brief as possible, and sum up the things, but this just keeps on going. Like each time I think, okay, I'm going to wrap up here, more I see over here, right? Because we are going to this path to the June solar eclipse in Cancer, which will be going directly through China. So, okay, we can see another Chinese virus coming out of there. It's almost like that's kind of raising, as the Scorpio that is having the little kind of like spice in it, like out of the skirts of coronavirus. It's kind of like mutation of some sort, or maybe even perhaps joining forces with another virus. I don't really know that for sure, but you know, that's somehow what usually happens during this eclipse making time, and it's making direct beeline at China. And that's something that I have seen over here when, you know, like this was coming and nobody was really taking it seriously, right? Even though China is right now saying that they have the situation under control, and that greatly speaks of something else happening to or with China, doesn't look good. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, it was just that for checking in, trying to tell you this stuff. You know that I don't do it very often. I'm going to also give you my recommendations for, let's say, healing, for trying to boost up your immune system. I do advise you try to stay away from anybody, including the people who live with you. No, I'm not kidding. So it's going to be really difficult for me to give you taroscopes for this month, because I don't really want to talk about relationships. Right now, you need to save yourself. And you will save somebody else also by saving yourself. So it is kind of like stuff like that. Right, Sapphie? Are you going to say something? No? You're just sitting here? She's just sitting here. So this is it, guys. I know it's a little bit doomsday, but again, it's a labor's pains, and you can take some this immune kind of things, olive oregano and olive leaf extract. That is really going to help. If you can still get it, you will think of this such as gold. So let me just give you this as well. I'm going to close this. Finally, I did get out everything that I wanted to say, and I'm going to, when this uploads, chop this piece and upload it individually. So I want to say this as well, as far as those of you who are maybe having your immune compromised, or you have any comorbid situations such as heart condition, diabetes, breathing, asthma, or if you are concerned about somebody else who may be immunocompromised, I really want to share with you two my favorite immune support herbs that you can get them, right? Either Whole Foods or health food store, and you can order them online if you really want to minimize the contact with the people. The first one is olive leaf extract, right? If I feel that I'm getting sick, I will load up on that one. And the other one, which most of you probably already know, is oil oregano. oil of oregano, make sure it's organic. It's a great also immune support. It's antiviral, antifungal, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, so the temperature will go down, anti-diabetic, and also cancer suppressing agent, right? It's found in that oil. No, this is not a health advice. This is something you can Google up and see it, but it's really amazing stuff. So get these two, olive leaf extract and oil of oregano, and you're going to be good to go. Just do it before you're like in the jaws of it, and start working on it, start boosting it up, right? Now, having said that, it's just like when people sometimes ask me, like, and I used to be into these MLM things when I came to this country. It was noni juice, and people say, oh, will I heal my cancer with this? And clearly I didn't make a good distributor, because I would say to them, it's a juice, dude. It's a juice. You need to change your life, and when you change your life, this juice will help. Until then, this is only a juice. So yeah, olive leaf extract and oil of oregano, this is great, but you also need to pay attention to your diet, and like your diet will be very important, right? We just came out of full moon in Virgo, and the next full moon will be in Libra. So Virgo, health and how we organize our life. Libra, put it in balance. So we need to reassess our diets and have balance. So if you want my personal opinion, and you know what is like, it's worth 2 cents, right? Stop eating meat. Stop eating sugar and dairy, because that truly suppresses your immune system. You're going to get ahead without it. And yeah, stay safe out there. You know, things are really crazy, and we are on one hell of a ride, but you know, Lord knows, if we want it to be interesting, then we chose this lifetime on this earth at this stage right now. So this kind of like was very, very important to us. So like I said, guys, it is not the end of the days. It is just simply a certain type of days that we are going to experience. Is going to be interesting ride. Is going to be pedal to the metal, but you know, we will just have to kind of go through it, right? So we have chosen this life and this karma, so buckle up, right? So remember, we are going through labor pains. We are just going through it, we are shifting through it, and it's happening. So if you guys want to reach out to me for a reading, you're more than welcome. So please check my website or contact me directly via email so we can set up something. Et c'est tout, mes amis. That's all, my friends. So if you don't know how to get your North Node, how to find it, send me your birth date. I'm going to send it back to you, tell you what it is for free. No worries. I'm trying to do my share of what I can do, but I also appreciate orders. These are trying times for everybody. There is something that I can do. It is remote, so I'm blessed this way, and I'm sending blessings to you and hope things really work out, that we find our new space in this like new earth that is like emerging in front of us. Love you. I wish you all the best, and stay safe.